Our children can do anything that any children can do, and I'm just so proud of this young man. And I'm so glad that you've come out here tonight to celebrate these 5 extraordinary young people. When you're going to hear their stories, Yushabel Sanon, Troy Johnson, Bethany Pruitt, Carlos Lopez Sanchez, and Janet Legali Bona. I am just so proud of these young people who live through things that most of us wouldn't be able to manage and who come out achieving at extraordinary levels. And so thank you for coming out. But we're also here tonight to celebrate a great child advocate and a great friend, and to have a love-in for our dear friend Hillary Rodham Clinton. I am so proud of her in so many ways. I've probably known her longer than anybody that was not her sibling or growing up with her in Chicago. And I remembered when I saw him recently, I've known Hillary Clinton longer than Bill Clinton has known her. So we go back a very long way. And she has made such a difference in the life and the development of the Children's Defense Fund and of our child advocacy movement. I first heard of her when she hit Time magazine challenging Senator Ed Brooke, the Democratic senator from Massachusetts, on his pro-war stance in the Vietnam War. And my first instinct after reading that, I said, boy, I sure want to get to know her. So we called up, Peter and I and Vernon Jordan, and we asked her to come out to the League of Women Voters Conference in Ohio, and that was the beginning of a long friendship. She then went off that fall after Wellesley to the Yale Law School, and I went up to speak there, and she came up to me afterwards and said, I'd like to come work for you for the Washington Research Project. And I said, you can come, but I haven't got any money to pay you. You'll have to find your own money. And she did, and she has always been able to figure out how to get done whatever had to be done. And I've always appreciated her for that. And she always did whatever was necessary. And she always did it very well. I think that first summer of internship, she went down to pretend to be a parent to investigate a private white academy down south. Sent her a second summer where she came as an intern to go down and look at the conditions of children living in migrant camps. She did it well. And when she got out of law school, she said, I'd like to come work. We were just, at that time, involving the Children's Defense Fund from the Washington Research Project, and she came. And you know how badly we pay all of you who work at the Washington Research Project and at the Children's Defense Fund. But she came to Cambridge and was a staff attorney. And our first mission was to figure out, after we'd read a local Boston report on children out of school in Boston, whether this was a national problem. And we looked at the census data, and we saw that there are 2 million children not enrolled in any school in America, and that 750,000 were between 7 and 13 years old, but it didn't tell us why these children were out of school. And so we knocked on thousands of census doors, and Hillary went to New Bedford, knocking on doors as we all did, and it just says you have to go behind the data systems out to the people to knock on doors and get to know them. And that's 750,000 children between 7 and 13, as well as a large portion of the older children were disabled children. And we didn't have at that time a federal right to education for disabled children. And so that was our first big legislative victory, but all of us knocked on doors, and Hillary knocked on doors. And I've just been very pleased at her follow-up. But then she said, to my shock, that she was going to go down to Arkansas after being on the inquiry. That she was working in the Senate Inquiry Committee, impeaching the president. But then she was going to go down to Arkansas with this fellow I'd never heard of. And but she did. But when she went to Arkansas, she started the Arkansas local child advocacy group for families and children, and she stuck with that for many years. She then became a member of the board of the board of trustees of CDF, and then she became chairman of the board of CDF. And then she, when she became first lady, she resigned from that board. But I just have loved the staying power, the persistence of commitment that she has reflected for children and families left behind all of her adult life, and I'm very grateful. And I loved it in 1992 when she came to Washington with President Bill Clinton. The first thing they did was they came to a Beat the Odds in 1992 to celebrate young people like these tonight who had been beating the odds. And then she, as First Lady, began to work together on immunizations and on CHIP and on all the things that our children need to get ready for school. And so she became, in 2000, 2008, the first former First Lady after she went through her stint in the White House to run for political office in New York. And as you know, she won that seat in New York as a junior U.S. citizen as a junior United States senator by landslide, and she was a really good senator. In 2008, she becomes the first woman to launch a major campaign for President of the United States. In hard-fought primaries, Senator Barack Obama prevails, but in 2009 and 2012, he appointed Hillary Rodham Clinton Secretary of State, and she becomes the first former First Lady to serve in a cabinet position. And in 2016, former Senator and Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton becomes the first woman to win the nomination of a major party for President of the United States of America. And to win the popular vote in the general election. So we're going to say she is the people's president. And as of the most recent count, 1,221,480 have said she's our president, and she is our president. And I want to just thank her because my two granddaughters are here tonight, and because of all the past she has paved for them. One of the days, soon, your daughter and my daughter and our granddaughters are going to sit in that Oval Office, and we can thank Hillary Rodham Clinton for that. So I am delighted to have her come and share this evening and to let her know that we love her and that we appreciate all the hard work that she has done, and to say it is not going to be for naught, that she is our president for the people. Thank you. Hillary?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, it is so wonderful to be here with all of you on behalf of the Children's Defense Fund. I was listening backstage as Marion went through the 45 years that we have known each other, and even reminded me of some things that I had not recalled, namely that this event was the very first event that my husband and I went to after he was elected president. And so it's especially poignant and meaningful to me to be here again with all of you. And I want to start by congratulating the terrific young people that we are celebrating tonight. You will hear more about each of them because each has faced painful challenges, violence and poverty, abandonment, but they never gave up. They never stopped reaching, never stopped dreaming, and yes, they have beaten the odds. They call Troy the little poet who could. He's an artist on the basketball court and a flourishing writer in the classroom, and he dreams of becoming a filmmaker. Bethany lived in one foster home after another, but with the help of a wonderful teacher and her own determination, she is thriving and hopes to become a doctor so she can care for others. Carlos left a difficult childhood in Guatemala, made it to America all by himself, Then he took a second journey, making it all the way to college, where he is studying to become an engineer. Janet's secret weapon is her beautiful voice and her musical talent. Music has helped her overcome every obstacle that life has thrown in her path. And Yushabel persevered through domestic violence at home and bullying at school, and found her voice producing a student television show at school, and now she has set her sights on becoming a journalist. These fearless, generous, open-hearted, determined young people represent a rising generation that should give us all much hope for the future. And they represent the continuing commitment of the Children's Defense Fund and Marian Wright Edelman. Now, I will admit, coming here tonight wasn't the easiest thing for me. There have been a few times this past week when all I wanted to do was just to curl up with a good book or our dogs and never leave the house again. But if there's anyone who knows how to pick yourself up and get back on your feet and get to work, it is Marian. And she has been doing it all her life, and she has been helping the rest of us do it too. I am as inspired by Marian today as I was the first time I met her 45 years ago. And she told the story. I was a young law student. I had lots of hopes and expectations about what a law degree would enable me to do. I had the words of my Methodist faith ringing in my ears: do all the good you can for all the people you can in all the ways you can, as long as ever you can. And she was the crusading legal activist, also a graduate of Yale Law School. And she was translating her faith into a life devoted to children's service and social justice. Observing that, being part of that, is one of the greatest gifts anyone has ever given me. Because I often thought about Marian's journey, about the stony roads she walked, the bitter rods she endured, and how she never lost her faith and kept her eyes on the prize. I think of her taking the bar exam in Mississippi, the first Black woman ever to do so, and then opening offices for the NAACP and a Head Start program for children who desperately needed it. I think of her with Robert Kennedy in a tiny shack in the Delta, opening his eyes to the realities of poverty in America. I think of her with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., starting the Poor People's Campaign and dreaming of an America of equality and opportunity. You have to look at Marian's life and ask, how did she beat the odds when so many gave up the hopes of those early days? For Marian, it has always been about children and families. That's what matters, and that's what has kept her going. Helping to open public schools to children with disabilities in the 1970s, an effort I was honored to be part of. Working to expand Medicaid in the 1980s to cover more pregnant women and more children in need. Standing with me and others in the 1990s to create the Children's Health Insurance Program, improve foster care, and create early Head Start. Fighting in recent years to build a bipartisan movement to dismantle the school-to-prison pipeline and reform our criminal justice system, especially for juveniles, and spending countless hours mentoring and training the next generation of leaders and activists at Haley Farm. Under Marian's leadership, the Children's Defense Fund works to give every child a healthy start, a head start, a fair start, a safe start, and a moral start in life. And I cannot think of a more noble or necessary mission. No matter what the setbacks, she has always believed in the words of Dr. King, often repeated by President Obama: the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Now, sometimes it can feel awfully long. Believe me, I know. But I also know it does bend. It bends toward justice because people like Marion and so many of you, and there are people in this audience I have had the privilege of working with and admiring for so many decades. You refuse to stop pushing, and when you get knocked down, you get back up. I often quote Marion when she says that service is the rent we pay for living. Well, you don't get to stop paying rent just because things don't go your way. I know many of you are deeply disappointed about the results of the election. I am too, more than I can ever express. But as I said last week, our campaign was never about one person or even one election. It was about the country we love and about building an America that is hopeful, inclusive, and big-hearted. I didn't get into public service to hold high office. 45 years ago, that would have seemed an absolute, incredibly wrong-headed view. But I did decide to be an activist, to use my law degree to help kids. Every child deserves to have the opportunity to live up to his or her God-given potential. And I believe the measure of any society is how we treat our children. And as we move forward into a new and in many ways uncertain future, I think that must be the test for America and for ourselves. Despite the progress, and we have made progress under President Obama, more than 31 million children still live at or near poverty in America. And I hoped to have had the opportunity to build on the progress that President Obama has made, because I know that we are stronger together when we are lifting each other up. And let's be clear, when I talk about children in or near poverty, this isn't someone else's problem. These aren't someone else's children. This is America's problem because they are America's children. Child poverty isn't just an urban challenge or a Black or Latino challenge, although children of color continue to suffer disproportionately from high rates of poverty. But make no mistake, there are poor children of every race and ethnicity. 3 out of every 10 white children in America are at or near poverty. That is more than 11 million kids. And when you add in 11 million Latino children, more than 6 million Black children, 1.5 million Asian and American Indian children, nearly 2 million children of 2 or more races, the scope and scale of this challenge becomes clear. Poor children live in every state and every congressional district, so they deserve the attention and efforts of every one of our representatives and leaders. And the measure of success must be how many children and families climb out of poverty and reach the middle class. We know what works to support kids and give them opportunities to succeed. Parents need good-paying jobs, affordable quality health care and child care, to have help balancing the demands of work and family. Communities need investments that lift families up, not neglect that lets them fall further behind. There are millions of children who will go to school tomorrow in classrooms with crumbling ceilings, empty bookshelves, and walls covered with mold. There are children in places like Flint, Michigan, drinking water poisoned by lead. And children all over our country face the daily danger of gun violence. We have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to give them the safe and healthy lives they deserve? There are also children who are afraid today, like the little girl I met in Nevada who started to cry when she told me how scared she was that her parents would be taken away from her and be deported. No child should have to live with fear like that. No child should be afraid to go to school because they're Latino or African American or Muslim or because they have a disability. We should protect our children and help them love themselves and love others. So, there's a lot of work to do. As long as any child in America lives in poverty, as long as any child in America lives in fear, as long as any child, not just here, but in the world, faces these challenges, there is work to do. Girls as well as boys in every country, on every continent, deserve that chance to fulfill their own potential. And it is going to take all of us doing our part. I wrote a book 20 years ago called It Takes a Village, and a lot of people asked, what the heck do you mean by that? Well, I meant what CDF has represented and understood from the beginning. None of us can raise a family, build a business, heal a community, or lift a country by ourselves. We have to do it together. So I urge you, please don't lose heart. Don't give up on the values we share. Look at the young people we are honoring tonight. If they can persevere, so must all of us. And if Marion has taught us anything, it's there are so many ways to make a difference. Organizations like CDF have never been more important. Businesses, philanthropists, foundations, congregations of every faith have to step up too, because there's work to be done in every community. Debates to be joined in city halls and state capitals. And even if it may not seem like it right now, there is common ground to build on. A lot of governors and legislatures and mayors are pioneering new ways to support parents and provide children with early learning in red states as well as blue states. Many of our most important accomplishments for the well-being of children and families have come from both parties working together, like the Children's Health Insurance Program. That could never have happened without Republican leaders. Now it covers 8 million kids. And even in this presidential campaign, for the first time ever, a broad consensus emerged about the importance of affordable, quality childcare and paid family leave. So we have work to do. And for the sake of our children and our families and our country, I ask you to stay engaged. Stay engaged on every level. We need you. America needs you. Your energy, your ambition, your talent. That's how we get through this. That's how we help to make our contributions to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. I know this isn't easy. I know that over the past week, a lot of people have asked themselves whether America is the country we thought it was. The divisions laid bare by this election run deep. But please listen to me when I say this. America is worth it. Our children are worth it. Believe in our country, fight for our values, and never, ever give up. Because over the past 2 years, I've met so many people who reaffirmed my faith in our country, all kinds of people, young people starting businesses, people working in every way they could to make the world a better place, police officers who put their lives on the line, members of communities who worked with the police to try to keep everybody safe, immigrants who worked so hard to become citizens, and so many people who work long hours caring for children and the elderly, even when the pay is not enough to support their own families. I met and had the chance to work and travel with mothers who lost children and turned around and started a movement for peace and justice. A pastor in South Carolina who shared his Bible with me, open to 1 Corinthians. Love never fails, it tells us, and I believe that. Way back when I was in college, and I gave the commencement speech, I said to my classmates then that our goal should be to make what appears to be impossible possible. Well, I may be older now, a mother and a grandmother. I've seen my share of ups and downs, but I still believe that we can make the impossible possible. And I will hope that the stories of the young people we're honoring tonight, Marion's story, all that she's achieved, the Children's Defense Fund has often made the impossible possible. And then finally, as some of you heard me say during the campaign, I draw hope and sustenance from another person who influenced my life and still does every day, my mother. I've talked about her difficult childhood. She was abandoned by her parents when she was just 8 years old. They put her on a train to California all by herself in charge of her little sister who was 3 years younger. She ended up in California where she was mistreated by her grandparents, ended up on her own working as a housemaid. She beat the odds. She found a way to offer me the boundless love and support she never received herself. I think about her every day, and sometimes I think about her on that train. I wish I could walk down the aisle and find the little wooden seats where she sat, holding tight to her younger sister, all alone and terrified. She doesn't yet know how much more she will have to face and even suffer. She doesn't yet know she will find the strength to escape that suffering. That's still years off. Her whole future is unknown, as it is for all of us, as she stares out at the vast country moving past her. And I dream of going up to her and sitting next to her and taking her in my arms and saying, look at me and listen. You will survive. You will have a family of your own, 3 children. And as hard as it might be to imagine, your daughter will grow up to be a United States Senator, represent our country as Secretary of State, and win more than 62 million votes for President of the United States. Now, I can't, and you can't go back in time and hug all those children that preceded us, but we can do that now. We can reach out to make sure every child has a champion, because I am as sure of this as anything I have ever known. America is still the greatest country in the world. This is still the place where anyone can beat the odds. It's up to each and every one of us to keep working to make America better and stronger and fairer. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the work of the Children's Defense Fund.
And we're never going to give up. I don't care if the if we're never going to give up until every child in this country has a healthy start and a head start and a fair start, and we're going to end child poverty in America in our lifetime quickly, because these children have only one childhood. So I just thank Hillary for just who she is and what she's done and what she's going to continue to do. And so thank you. We love you. We love you. It's now my pleasure to present and have him give us the prayer for the evening. Dr. Bernard Richardson, who is the marvelous Dean of the Rankin Chapel, Memorial Chapel at Howard University. It's probably the most vibrant religious campus religious ministry that there is, and I go over there every Sunday afternoon or morning to get my fix for the week. He's rigorously taught, and he's a great prayer, so he has come to pray for us tonight. Dr. Richardson.
Let us pray. Most gracious and loving God, you are the giver of every good and perfect gift. So we give you thanks for the gift of this day and for the Beat the Odds celebration. We come giving thanks for the gift of the Children's Defense Fund, for leading us in the struggle to turn the hearts and minds of people everywhere towards our children. We give you thanks for the gift of Marian Wright Edelman, for her leadership that is produced by faith, her labors that are prompted by love, and her endurance that is inspired by the faith and hope that she has in our children and in you. We give thanks for the family, friends, teachers, and counselors who share not only their time, expertise, and resources, but share also their love, and in doing so, have made a difference in the lives of your children. We give thanks tonight for the opportunity to witness the extraordinary power of young people to overcome and to excel, to be eyewitnesses of the hope of a better tomorrow, not only for these bright stars, but for children everywhere. May this night cause us to remember that you have a future and a hope for us, and that you and you alone will have the final say about all of our destinies, even the destiny of our nation. Bless now our children. Bless now what our eyes will see, our ears will hear, and our hearts will feel in our time together. In your name we pray. Amen.
I want to thank Dean Richardson and thank you for your service, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Wasn't that amazing? And I want to thank another amazing woman, Marian Wright Edelman, my leader forever. As one of Marion's mentors, the great civil rights leader Ella Baker said, "We who believe in freedom cannot rest." My name is Jeff Canada, and many people will claim Marian Wright Edelman as a mentor, but I promise you, she transformed my life and helped me find my calling as an advocate. I've had the privilege of witnessing some of the life-transforming work of the Children's Defense Fund through the years, and I know all those who have served with the Children's Defense Fund for more than 40 years following Ella Baker's footsteps. The Children's Defense Fund is about giving children hope. Giving children hope for a better future is so important. It's never been more important than right now. The Beat the Odds program has been giving children hope since 1990. The 5 recipients this evening will each be awarded a $10,000 scholarship. Not bad. Tonight is a milestone in their journey. They were first welcomed into the CDF family 2 years ago, and they and their parents and guardians have received guidance and support navigating the college selection and admissions process. Their servant leadership training has already begun. The Beat the Odds program really does help make their dreams of college come true. The more than 900 Beat the Odds alumni scattered across the country who are now part of the CDF family know a lot about how poverty hurts. Some of them are here with us tonight, including 5 extraordinary youths we will lift up tonight. Their stories of triumph over struggle will inspire us for the urgent work ahead. It is now my privilege to introduce an extraordinary young woman. Yushabel Sanyin, born in America to Haitian parents who migrated looking for opportunity, she is already giving back to her community with the group she created, LOL Girls with a Z. This young servant leader provides a positive, safe space to empower other, mostly first-generation girls to share their feelings and get support from their peers so they can follow their dreams. Her accomplishments are many. She is president of her senior class and excels academically with a grade point average of over 4.2. That's extraordinary. And she produces a cable talk show for her school and works to assist her family financially. I am deeply moved by her courage, determination, and grit as she faced the sometimes unimaginable challenges of poverty, family violence, a mostly absent mother who had 5 strokes by the time she was 10, academic struggles, and severe bullying. Join me in watching her video.
Hi, I'm Yushabel Sannon, and I'm a senior at Montgomery Blair High School in Silver Spring, Maryland. I want to work at a news outlet or work someplace in media where I can tell the whole truth and leave nothing out.
This is Do You Know? I'm Yushabel, and do you know what happens in this building during the summer?
I do a show, so it's called Do You Know?
With Yushabel, and I'm here with
The base of the show is interviewing kids and staff so you can get to really know your Blair peers.
Can you tell us about Kumon?
I feel like a star. I'm Haitian, so I grew up in a Haitian household, and everything we did was like in our culture. We were a really close family. I'm like the youngest. I was daddy's princess. Like he would, every time he came from work, he would bring me either like some food, like candy or a toy. I remember he brought me this top model Barbie, and I loved Barbies. Like, they were the best. I was always teased a little in elementary school because of my name. You know, it's Yushabel, and then I was a little chubby, so they call me Belly or something like that, you know, little kid stuff. I had like a reading problem, writing, and math. Like I was so bad at all 3. My dad would hit my mom sometimes out of anger, and they would like curse each other out and yell. One night, he had pulled out a knife on her, and my sister jumped right in between the knife and my mom. He did get help after that. He went to like anger management because of the court. When my parents split and it was just my dad, his job now, like it doesn't really pay as much. And so supporting me and my sister who still lived with him, because we didn't live with my mom, it started to get harder.
I signed up for a youth mentoring program that was in her building at the time. When I met her as a 9-year-old little girl, she was so shy, hiding next to her dad.
My 4th quarter in 6th grade year, I got straight A's. They put me in honors English, and my math, I got into IM, which is a year ahead. The worst years of education is middle school, and it's not even the workload, it's the students. I started to get really big. I remember this one day, and it was like the worst day. It was 8th grade year, and they started throwing food at me because they said I was a human trash can, and I would eat it anyway. And that was the worst. I went home and I was crying still, and I said, I don't deserve to be treated like this. Like, I'm a better person than this, and this is awful.
She is such a strong person that nothing seems to keep her down.
When high school started, I got more involved, and people started to know me more.
She loves her high school.
Happy Friday, Blazers. I'm Yushabel, and welcome back to InfoFlow.
They have so many programs and opportunities for her, and she is taking everyone that is given to her.
As she talked to me about college and financial-wise, she brought me to my first interview for my first job.
She's really opened up and grown into a beautiful young woman.
And now I'm at Chuck E. Cheese, and I really love it.
Yushabel is ambitious, and rambunctious.
I realized doing Do You Know, I would love to have my own show.
College is certainly in her future.
It's a way for me to find myself.
No matter what she's gonna do, it's gonna be a success.
Beating the odds means you fight through it, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
When she sets her mind to it, she's gonna get it done.
I am truly blessed. I'm here and I'm happy.
Please join me in welcoming Yushabel Sanin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yushabel Sanin, and I've beaten the odds. Thank you so much for being here tonight to support all of us. Winning this award makes me feel like you are telling me your struggle won't determine the rest of your life. You don't need to restrict yourself or feel like you don't matter. You are somebody in this world, and your future is what you make it. Sometimes my dad took out his frustration and stress on us, but I know he is there for me and loves me. My mother is in and out of my life, but I hold fast to the memories we had when I was younger, and I know she loves me. God has blessed me with a large, loving family who support me with my aspirations. I also have received a lot of encouragement through the years. My fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Rule, my counselors at Blair, Miss Bailey and Miss West, and my principal, Mrs. Johnson. I especially want to thank my mentor, Ashley, and her husband, Alan, who have become my other parents. They helped me to discover who I am and gave me opportunities that I would never have had. All of these amazing people have come into my life, and they've stayed. They want what's best for me and to make sure that I'm on the right path. My dream is, after I complete college, to have a career in communications, to tell the truth with no bias. Media is what shapes our society, and I want to positively shape it for all generations. Finally, I want to thank Mrs. Edelman for having this amazing Beat the Odds program, and the staff like Miss B, Miss Lavita, Miss Patty, and Dr. Azeze, who all helped us through the journey. And again, thank all of you for being here, listening, and supporting us. It means the world to me.
Good evening. Come on, folks. Did you just hear that? Come on now. Let's try that one more time. And, you know, we just heard from the president of the people, right? And we just heard that amazing story. Let's try that one more time. Good evening. Good evening. Much better. You're actually at Children's Defense Fund Beat the Odds. My name is Marty Rogers, and I have been part of the Children's Defense Fund family going all the way back to the 1990s, when I left corporate America to become Marion's assistant. Among my responsibilities at the time, quite a long time ago, before our next honoree, Troy Johnson, was even born, was helping to plan and launch the Black Community Crusade for Children and its Black Student Leadership Network in honor of Ella Baker. It was the Black Student Leadership Network that led to the creation of the Children's Defense Fund Freedom Schools. I can honestly say, working at the Children's Defense Fund changed my life. Now, a relatively new member of the Children's Defense Fund's board of directors, it is both new and strange to, in effect, be Marion's boss versus her lowly assistant. What remains consistent, however, is that she remains my shiro, my mentor, and absolutely my lantern. I am thrilled to introduce the next Beat the Odds honoree, Troy C. Johnson. The odds were stacked against him from the very beginning. Born to a teenage mother, with a father who was in and out of prison, he grew up in a violence-saturated neighborhood. Troy was often alone and began writing stories and poems at a young age. A talent for basketball, he says he's a combo guard, has skills all around, provided him with a team and a coach who became his second family. His strong grandmother and loving teachers gave him hope for a better and brighter future. It does indeed take a village. But his own determination to explore his world and make it better than he found it is who he is. He dreams of becoming a writer, a filmmaker, and a poet. He wants to change the world. And everyone who knows Troy says when he makes up his mind to do something, there's no doubt that he will. Please join me and let's watch Troy's powerful story.
Hi, I'm Troy C. Johnson, and I'm a senior at Cesar Chavez Public Charter School for Public Policy at Parkside Campus. I realized I was smart when I was in elementary school. I realized I was different in middle school. I realized I was a genius in high school.
Troy's zest for life and his passion for learning is not only unique, it's inspiring.
I got a tattoo right here that says, "The little poet that could."
Troy's main way of dealing with everything is through his writing. He loves to express himself in essays and poetry and short stories.
DC isn't what a lot of people think it is. DC is a very, very, very violent city.
Troy is the definition of beating the odds. Troy is a young black man from Northeast Washington, D.C., where poverty and crime and hopelessness can sometimes overtake who you are. And Troy has decided that that's not his story.
My mother had me when she was 17. And my father, I'm not saying he wasn't there, but he had a lot of restraining orders.
He's seen a lot, family tragedy, close family members in and out of jail, very close family members.
My father always made promises that couldn't be kept, and I got used to him. In elementary school, I was smart because what they taught me, and I remembered it. I never looked at school as a thing I should be afraid of. I embrace it because I can finally show my worth. Middle school, I realized that's when I started digging deep into my writing and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I'm different.
He came here in the 7th grade, and he lived with his grandmother once he came to this school.
She made me go to church. She made me go to Bible studies. And she's done a lot for me, you know, basketball, pay for all my basketball stuff, make sure I'm always good.
The first thing I noticed about him is his love and his passion for the game.
I fell in love with it. I only played it because my friend played it, and I didn't want to be left alone.
Troy wouldn't leave the gym.
Troy is a team player. He's not the kid that's going to be upset. He's not the kid that cares about how many minutes he gets in the game.
10th grade, in biology class, I found out a phone call. My father told me that don't come home.
Troy's uncle, whom he was close with and that lived in the house, was murdered while Troy was at school by his cousin, the uncle's son.
He came over crying to the school. He just thought about all the greatness that his uncle had within him and his hard work and his work ethic. And he said, I gotta carry that on for the family.
The very next day after it happened, Troy was late. All his clothes had to be rewashed because it was a crime scene. But he came to school and he never missed a day after that. And I just thought that, like, if I were him, would I have been that strong?
He's been able to keep it moving no matter what and see the bigger prize. And it's just extraordinary to see his maturation and his growth.
Yeah, I want to study film and screenwriting, creative writing, dramatic writing.
Troy is going to be a basketball player at someone's university. Troy is going to be a writer.
College is everything because he wants to be able to change the world.
6th grade, I thought I was going to do it through basketball and spread the love of Jesus Christ through basketball and the gospel. Over time, I realized writing going to touch more people. Filmmaking going to touch more people.
He really sees himself as a change agent, and he accepts that role.
Every diamond has to go through the fire.
I think Troy can write his own ticket.
Pressure make diamonds.
I just love him. I love the young man he has become.
I'm not finished, so I'm still in the fight.
Please join me in welcoming an extraordinary young man, a diamond, a basketball player, and last but not least, a little poet who could.
That was a great video. Thank you. First off, I would like to thank Jesus Christ for this opportunity to grace this stage. I would like to thank Ms. Edelman and everyone at Children's Defense Fund for their forever impactful work that they do for us and everyone, and all the kids of America. I would like to thank Ms. B, Dr. Zeze, Ms. Patty, and Ms. Levita for helping me on this long track that I'm on. Ms. Edelman has truly started a family at CDF and planted seeds of wisdom, courage, and leadership for future leaders of tomorrow. Last but not least, I would like to thank the crazy people that I have in my life that has shaped me to the young man that I am today and continue to help me grow from crawling to walking to soon jogging on this path of changing the world from the better. From Nicolene McKenzie to Nicole Johnson to Troy McKenzie to Shanice Miller to Marvin Graves, to William Liggins, to Malcolm Battle, to Ernest Brooks Sr., and the rest of the people that I have that are helping me and carve my role in this dense rock that we all call life. I'm blessed to have a plethora of alleys to walk down and spread my creativity. So today I want to challenge you about a challenge that I have challenged myself with, and it's to spread love and spread love to all your brothers and sisters of the rainbow. To start seeking genuine love for oneself and start doing small acts of kindness. Because I know I'm not the only one, or we aren't the only one, or in the world that's beating the odds. We probably not the only one in the room that's beating the odds. Because I used to look at race as an obstacle. Now I look at it as a gift. The reality is, any moment I could be mistaken for the wrong person or wrongly judged. Every day I see the struggles in my people. From overdose of drugs to lack of love or falling in love with the lust of the streets. Now, this isn't Black Lives Matter, because all lives matter, of course. I just want to teach lessons and spread God's message through writing. After my senior year, I will be hoping to attend NYU and be accepted into the TIS. The Tisch School of Arts and begin studying film and creative writing. I'm a storyteller, soon to be a filmmaker, a promising author, and a little poet. I'm going to change the world through creativity. And before I leave, I want to leave with a thought that I thought way back in 9th grade, and it was, what if the sky wasn't the limit, but the moon and the stars are only the beginning? Thank you, and God bless you all.
Good evening. Are you inspired yet? Oh my gosh. Each time I'm here and able to attend, I come away so inspired. Being involved with the Beat the Odds program, as you can see, really means the world to the high school students we're honoring tonight. And I know what that means. Back in 1992, I was one of the first group of the Beat the Odds Awards here in DC. I'm Rondi Benjamin Johnson, and Beat the Odds, thank you. Beat the Odds was part of what helped set me on a path to Spelman and then on to Harvard Medical School and the London School of Economics. And I spent the last decade delivering medicine and care to families, underserved families and adults here in DC and in Los Angeles. The type of support that CDF provides to families and children all across the nation. And I'm so grateful for Children's Defense Fund work and Marian Wright Edelman. I'm grateful for the Beat the Odds program, which highlights stars, true stars, youth that have overcome enormous challenges, creating success, and also highlighting the communities and adults that support them. The biggest problem for CDF is only having enough funds to help a handful of students when the need is so great. So as you leave this evening, please consider making an extra gift. Perhaps donate an academic bundle or the Squeaky Clean bundle. Hopefully you saw those in the lobby, so we can send tonight's scholars to college with everything they need. Thank you for doing all you can to support CDF and our nominees. So I have the pleasure of introducing an extraordinary young woman of strength and courage. She's faced unimaginable hardships no child should have to endure. Her name is Bethany Pruitt. Her journey has taken her through a chaotic childhood, dangerous. She was in several different foster homes, hospitals, and residential treatment centers. She's exceedingly bright, and she's battled her depression. She's set high expectations for herself. She's worked super hard and has not given up. Her improbable journey from a locked special education school for children with emotional disabilities to likely valedictorian of her high school is a testament to her determination and persistence. She aspires to transform her trials into a life of helping others, and she wants to be a doctor or a veterinarian. So I'm super thrilled, and I can't wait for you to meet her. Please join me in watching her video.
Hi, I'm Bethany Pruitt. I am a senior at Washington Math Science Technology Public Charter High School in Washington, D.C. I believe that the odds were stacked against me from the day I was born. She never was really a mother to me because she never was around, she never was there. Before I was even born, she was a drug dealer. She was running from the cops. She and my father kind of were like in a drug ring, I guess. Cocaine, marijuana, needles. He died when I was 4. And my mom turned herself in. They ended up putting her in rehab, not jail. I remember they taking me away, and then I got a shower for the first time in months because at the time we were living in an abandoned apartment. It felt wonderful. I was finally able to get clean because the shower at the apartment building never worked. So the government had taken us. In a year and a half, I lived in 14 different foster homes and 2 hospitals. I was in children's for a 6-month holding period, and I remember it was wintertime and Thanksgiving came around. Again, I missed Thanksgiving, my family, and then Christmas came around and I was still in there. I liked the routine that I was on about being around people that didn't treat me with harm and having my own bed and being fed. I actually love living in residential homes. I actually had like a lot of friends, and it actually made me who I am because it made me more mature. When I was 10, I moved out with my mother. My mother got custody from the court. I was still raising myself, and I didn't like it. I was in a special ed education school.
Primarily, it serves emotional behavior disorders. I was her 7th grade English and social studies teacher.
I liked school because it was my escape. I felt smart.
She needed several supports with coping skills. She would sort of rush through her assignments, and she would find herself bored, and then she would start to talk, or she liked to dance, so she would get up and dance through the classroom.
I decided that in 7th grade that I would get out of the school, whether it was this year or next year.
She was an A student, always an A student, always completed her work, was very involved in the academic process, wanted to learn everything, always wanted to make sure she got her grades and her schoolwork done.
Everything else that I've wanted in my life, it's always been taken away by someone else. And this was the only thing in my life that no one else could damage or take away. When I finally decided that it was time for me to move out was when I was beginning the process to try to get out of the middle school that I was in.
I was afraid for her. I wanted her to succeed. I saw her passion, her drive, and I needed her to make sure she got to where she needed to be.
She took me in when no one else would.
So I helped her find a school.
When I first started living with my teacher in 9th grade, it actually made me realize that the reason I acted the way I did was because of my family.
Her environment change was the biggest factor in her life. You know, many kids are diagnosed with disabilities when the real issue is they haven't eaten in 3 days.
The environment that I was living in with Liz was the happiest I had been my whole life.
Going to the beach was new for her. Going out of town was new for her.
My dream when I grow up is to help people.
Going to college is her absolute goal.
It's like a new beginning for me.
She wants to be successful with college, to finish.
It will be my chance to undo every hardship, every thing that's ever been a struggle for me. So I can't wait for it.
Please welcome Bethany.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to thank Ms. Edelman, the Children's Defense Fund, and everyone involved in the BTR's program for giving me this award. I greatly appreciate it. Liz, would you please stand up? I would say this, but y'all already did it. Liz, I appreciate you and your family for everything you have done for me. I also want to thank all my teachers. Although they aren't here today, they have helped me throughout high school and given me enormous amounts of support. I also want to thank my mom. Although I know we have our differences, she is still my family, and I love her with all my heart. Lastly, I want to thank the person who has been there for me throughout everything. He accepts me for me, and I love him for everything he does. I want to thank my boyfriend, Antonio, who is so dear to my heart. After watching the video, you know my story, and you may ask, how did a girl like that overcome all those obstacles? Well, here's my motto. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. Thank you for sharing this wonderful evening with me.
Hi, good evening. As the current chair of the Children's Defense Fund Board of Directors, it's an honor for me to welcome Hillary Rodham Clinton back into the family and to thank everyone here for coming out to support these young scholars and all of the critically important work that CDF does. We are grateful. Our next Beat the Odds honoree has already exceeded his own expectations. His name is Carlos Lopez Sanchez. His amazing journey from childhood poverty in the mountains of Guatemala with no formal education to our nation's capital and college is almost hard to believe. This sensitive young scholar risked everything for a better chance at a better life. Born into a native Guatemalan family, he grew up speaking a native dialect, a language, and he then somehow learned to speak Spanish, to read, write, basic math. But then after the devastating loss of his mother when he was a teenager, he decided to head north. It was a long and dangerous trek over thousands of miles, often on foot. But only that led to capture at the border. And now, in 3 short years, he's already defied the odds. Because of his excellent command of the English language and his other academic skills, he graduated from high school in only 3 years. And what is so extraordinary about this brilliant young man is his passion for learning, his humble, generous spirit, his talent for helping others. He never complains, and he never gives up. Let's watch his video.
Hi, my name is Carlos Lopez Sanchez. I just graduated from Bell Multicultural High School. My dream was, if I was working hard, I would get what I want, to have a family, being able to support my family, have a house, and at least have some food on the table. I was born in the mountains of Guatemala. Growing up about 5 years, then I kind of start doing some work or helping my mother in her job, cleaning the floor or doing the beds.
Although there is public school in Guatemala, you have to pay for your uniform and your pens and pencils and books and all that. His desire to go to school and not being able to, not having the funds to do that was probably one of the most difficult things for him because he wanted to learn.
Unexpectedly, my mother died.
He had options, but they were limited because he had never gone to school.
I was trying to do some work, try again to find a way how to overcome, how to achieve in life again, but I wasn't successful at that. So I decided to come in the United States.
You have to have a certain amount of courage to do that, to leave everything you know by yourself at 17.
It took about a month.
The migration is through probably 2,000 miles worth of territory.
Sometimes I had to work for a long distance.
His feet were just completely bruised and swollen.
I thought I would make it through crossing the United States, but then I was caught at that moment.
So when the phone call came and his uncle asked me to be his sponsor, I said yes.
When I came to DC, it was kind of beautiful to see those big buildings and everything going on in the street and the parks.
I chose Bell. They had an excellent English as a second language program.
At the school, I would just get lost.
He was just so thrilled to go to school that he just took it all in. He wanted to know more faster. And within probably 2 months of being in school, he was helping other students with their math.
After the first semester, I got good grades.
He's the why person, the question asker.
The first, my goal was to work, but then it changed to complete high school.
It's just amazing that he graduated from high school in 3 years, speaking English, writing English.
It was a very lucky St. Patty's Day for several DC high school students. They were ambushed in class by GW University leaders.
I was told that I was gonna go to George Washington University.
Whew, college. That was beyond anything he even would have imagined that he would be doing.
And now my goal is to become an engineer.
Whatever direction he goes in, he'll be successful.
I believe that there is that chance to become a professional.
Please welcome the brilliant, budding young electrical engineer, Carlos Lopez Sanchez.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I awake or am I dreaming? Poke me with a needle that I might wake up. Every morning for the past 3 years, I woke up with my face covered with blankets and thinking that I had to go to work. But then I realized that I had to go to school. And since July, I've been waking up to go to my college classes. I believe fate led me to high school and to my adopted family, Yolanda and Chris, who are here today. I thank them for their daily help to learn English and navigate the U.S. culture. In this new environment, fate changed my plans. I assumed that I would never have a chance to go to college. So I wanted to thank Ms. Edelman and the Children's Defense Fund staff for this award. Getting this scholarship at the end of my sophomore year motivated me when I was questioning if should I finish high school or go to work. It gave me the courage to continue, although I still have to make up for 16 years of learning. Now, with a full scholarship to George Washington University, I'm majoring in engineering. My past gives me the strength to fight and achieve my dream of college education and becoming a professional. In conclusion, I would like to dedicate this speech to my mother. May she rest in peace. I know because she taught me to fight for life and to be all what I can be every day. I know that she's watching me, and I know that she's proud of me. My mother always said, learn what you can learn for yourself, and then share your knowledge with others. My goal now is to advocate for equality and help others in need. Perhaps I have this opportunity because the purpose of my life has been to open the door for others. Thank you.
Wow, I am so moved. So much so that I'm going to go off script for a second. I'm Debbie Jarvis, and I am Vice President of Corporate Relations with Pepco Holdings. Marion and Children's Defense Fund, this is so powerful this evening. It may not be much, but I am going to find in 2016 $5,000 to help you all out. I hope that that encourages others to give, because so much has, it's just amazing this evening. It's just moved me so. So I hope that little bit amount will help. And then in 2017, we'll find some more. All right, so good evening, everyone. I am so happy, as you can tell, to be here with all of you and to be part of such an inspirational evening with CDF to recognize children who already have done amazing things in their lives. It's always an honor to be with Marion Wright Edelman. Now, ever since my days as a news anchor and reporter with NBC4, I've been in awe of Marion and the work of CDF. In many ways, my life has been inspired by her words. Service is the rent we pay for being. You heard Hillary mention that as well. It is the very purpose of life and not something you do in your spare time. As a woman of faith, I do believe that to whom much is given, much is required. Believe it or not, our final 2016 Beat the Odds recipient began her life of service as an 8-year-old when she created a nonprofit called the Children Empowerment Foundation. And she has been giving back ever since. She has never shied away from hard work. Janet Langa Bona is on the A train. Now, to understand what that means, you first have to know that she is a student at the Duke Ellington High School for the Performing Arts. And named after one of Duke Ellington's songs, the A Train is the highest level of honor roll that few achieve. Janet keeps straight A's in all 10 of her rigorous academic and performance classes. Now, she's also a triple threat, as they say in show business. She sings, she plays piano, and she writes songs. Now, last summer, she added acting to her skills with a starring role in a youth musical theater production. Her trials and tribulations, though, began before she entered kindergarten. But she has refused to let them define who she is or to limit her dreams. This young woman has big dreams and the talent and persistence to make them come true. And if you think that the story so far is amazing, watch the rest of her story.
Hello, my name is Janet Bain-Dulagobona, and I'm a senior at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts in Washington, D.C. There will be mountains that I would have to climb. My mom has always been there. She is the reason why I'm even going to performing arts high school, to have a chance to even reach at my dreams. And there will be battles that I will have to fight. I was very much like my mother when I was growing up. I was bold, get me on that stage, I'm not scared of anything. But victory or defeat, it's up to me to decide. But how can I expect to win if I never try? They were born in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I just can't give up now. I come too far from where I started from. When he left, he took everything. No bed, no TV. Nobody told me the road would be easy. Kindergarten, well, school in general was pretty cool. You got to eat whatever you want and sleep. And I don't believe he's brought me this far to leave me. We started to build and build and build. We got a bed, and then we got a computer so I can do my homework. And then we got our first TV. Never said there wouldn't be trials. Never said I wouldn't fall. When I was in 2nd grade, I got my first honor roll. Never said that everything would go the way I wanted to go. I wanted to be in the Junior Miss Sierra Leone in DC pageant. I was the youngest at 8, so it was 8 to 13. I practiced every day to make sure I had all my lines together, to make sure I was walking the way I should, singing the way I should. And it felt great to know that if you work hard at something, you can get it. But when my back is against the wall and I feel all hope is gone, being a single mom is not that easy at all. And there were many times when she was like, I don't have it to pay the rent. I will lift my head up to the sky and say, help me to be strong. I just can't give up now. I've come too far from where I started from. I was thinking to myself, it's like, I want to go to Duke Ellington. Nobody told me the road would be easy. I auditioned for instrumental and vocal music. And knowing that I love to sing, I was like, I gotta get into vocal. I have to get into vocal. And I auditioned, they said it was great. Callbacks were great. But I ended up on the waiting list, and I didn't make it. And I don't believe he's brought me this far to leave me. By then I already auditioned for instrumental music, and they said, you're amazing.
For Janet, playing and performing is freedom.
My long-term goal is to support myself as a singer, songwriter, just overall musician.
She's not somebody who's waiting for life to happen to her. She knows that life is happening, and if she is going to experience this in the way she wants, that she has to be prepared for it.
I am very interested in the copyright field.
She wants to be a lawyer.
My future is bright, but it's open to a lot of possibilities, and I love how it's looking. Nobody told me the road would be easy, and I don't believe he's brought me this far to leave me.
Amazing. Everyone, please welcome the exceptional Janet Lagabona.
Hello, it's me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Edelman, and distinguished guests. And I would like to also welcome Secretary Hillary Clinton tonight. And I never thought that telling my story would open all these wonderful doors of opportunity that I see today. My mother and I have been a team since my dad left when I was only 5. But that has never stopped me to dream and try to reach them. Thus, beating the odds and receiving this award, I think, validates my refusal to let the worst times in my life define who I am or control my life. I plan on becoming a music publisher now. I know, I'm getting it, guys. I plan on becoming a music publisher that emphasizes in copyright administration. And I also plan on becoming a musician. And I'm in a better position to do that now from where I was in the past. And I would like to thank God for granting me this opportunity to share my story and inspire someone else and perhaps give them hope to strive for a better future. I would like my mother to stand, please. Yes, 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 yes. Mom, thank you for being the engine behind my dreams. I want to thank the rest of my family and my friends for their unwavering support and the love that they showered on me through the years. I would like to thank Mrs. Edelman, the CDF Beat the Odds family, and all of you here tonight for making this experience possible for me. I want to leave you with a quote that motivates me, and it goes like this. Why are you worried about how full your plate is when the goal is just to eat? Go after every opportunity. Thank you.
Whoever said anybody had the right to give up on any child? I mean, and I hope that you've been as inspired by these extraordinary young people. And when I think of all the talent and gifts that our country wastes, and I just hope that tonight their inspiration will determine that we are not going to go backwards anymore, that we are going to move forward. I don't care who is in power, we are going to move forward. And we're going to make our voice louder than the voices of negation. And so I just want to celebrate these young people and thank you for being here to celebrate them with me. The day after Dr. King was assassinated, I went out into the neighborhoods to tell children not to riot and not to burn down things because the city was going up in flames in some of our neighborhoods. And I went out to public schools and I said, don't go out in the streets and don't steal because you'll jeopardize your future. And a 12-year-old boy looked me in the face and straight in the eyes and said, "Lady, what future? I ain't got no future. I ain't got nothing to lose." And I have spent the remaining part of my life and will spend the rest of my life to prove that boy's truth wrong. But I never dreamed it would be so hard. The Sunday before he was assassinated, Dr. King called his mother and told her that his sermon title for the next Sunday. And he said it was "Why America May Go to Hell." And he said in his last sermon here at the National Cathedral in Washington that if we don't use our vast resources to end poverty and to make it possible for all of God's children to have the basic necessities of life, we're going to go to hell. The parable he often told was of the rich man Dives and Lazarus, the poor man. He said that Dives did not go to hell because of his wealth. He went to hell because he refused to see and help his brother. He feared America could make the same mistake and warned us that our wealth could either be our opportunity or our downfall. And he called for a Poor People's Campaign, which I had the privilege of moving to Washington from Mississippi to help bridge the gulf between the haves and the have-nots. Well, we've got more poor people in America now than we had in 1960 when he was calling for People's Campaign. And today we also have the vicinity of having 14.5 million children who are poor, 6.5 million who live in extreme poverty in the largest economy on earth. And it is going to be our downfall. And I just want to get some sense from you tonight. I want to beg you to say, I don't care who's in power. I don't care what kind of things they do in the next month or 2 months or 3 months to destroy the safety net and all the entitlement programs and to redefine the role of government in this country and to cut the children who are hungry and homeless in order to give more tax cuts to the rich. You have got to stand up and fight back. We are not going to go backwards. And I just hope that you're going to commit yourself to that. And we will do whatever we have to do. But they are not going to take us backwards as a nation. We have an opportunity to show that the American dream can work in a world that is 2/3 poor and non-white. And the diversity in our own country gives us a chance to see whether our dream can work. But I just hope tonight, looking at these young people and listening to Hillary and looking at her sacrifice over the years and her attempt to help make children's needs more visible, that we will just determine that we're not going to let anybody turn us around, we're going to let anybody turn us back, and that we are not going to let tax cuts for the rich take more food out of the mouths of hungry children and homeless children. And so we're going to have to organize and stay with it and just say we will not tolerate it. So I hope that we will just get our courage from these young people tonight and fulfill our responsibility to those of us who are faith to do what our faith dictates and to do whatever we have to do to move this country forward. I often tell the story of the first time I heard Dr. King in Spelman's Chapel when he said the importance of kind of making sure you keep moving forward. And he says if you can't run, you walk. If you can't walk, you crawl, but you keep moving forward. And America has got to go forward, and we are the voices. Children can't vote, we can, but we have just got to promise them and promise ourselves that we are going to be instruments of peace and instruments of hope and instruments of making sure that America's dream and Dr. King's dream and the sacrificial actions of so many for so long. So let me just end with a prayer for children from my friend Anna Hughes, whom I love. And she says, and she didn't mind letting me fool around with a few of the words, but we pray and accept responsibility for children who sneak popsicles before supper, erase holes in math workbooks, and can never find their shoes. But we'll also pray and accept responsibility for children who can't bound down the street in a new pair of sneakers, who never counted potatoes, who were born in places we wouldn't be caught dead, who never go to the circus, and live in an X-rated world. Let's commit tonight that we're going to pray and accept responsibility and stand up and fight with all of our might for children who bring us sticky kisses and fistfuls of dandelions, who hug us in a hurry and forget their lunch money. But we are also going to stand up and pray and fight for those children who never get dessert, who have no safe blanket to drag behind them, who can't find any bread to steal, who don't have any rooms to clean up, whose pictures aren't on anybody's dresser, and whose monsters are real. Let's commit the night to pray and stand and vote and organize for children who spend all of their allowance before Tuesday, throw tantrums in the grocery store and pick at their food like ghost stories, shove dirty clothes under the bed, and never rinse out the tub, who also get visits from the tooth fairy, who don't like to be kissed in front of the carpool, who squirm in church or temple and scream on the phone, whose tears we sometimes laugh at and whose smiles can make us cry. But let's also determine that we're going to accept responsibility and stand up and vote for and organize for those children whose nightmares come in the daytime, who will eat anything, who've never seen a dentist, who aren't spoiled by anybody, who go to bed hungry and cry themselves to sleep, who live and move but have no being. Let's commit to praying and voting and organizing and accepting responsibility for children who want to be carried and for children who must be carried, for those we never give up on and for those who don't get a second chance. Let's commit to building a nation and an America for those children that we smother and for those who will grab the hand of anyone kind enough to offer it. Let's leave this place after we hear the inspiring words from our Moral Mondays director, and we're going to sing, hear the wonderful Rankin Choir from Howard sent us off to remind us that we can do whatever we've got to do, that we're not alone, and God is there, and we're going to move ahead. But I hope we'll determine that we're going to fight. Don't let anybody make these children's lives worse. Don't let anybody steal their food and their housing and their hope and their education and their early childhood. Let's end child poverty in this nation, and let's save America's soul in the process. Thank you for coming out. Reverend Barbara.
There is so much strength in what Sister Mother Marion Wright Edelman just said. Let's give her a great big hand and prayer. I could feel it as she was coming off stage. I did ask the chair one point of privilege. You know, I was crying over there as a pastor. And I don't know what the protocol is, but something said, you know, you should give $1,000 a year for the rest of your life to the Children's Defense Fund. And if 100 of us do that, that's $100,000 and $1 million in 10 years. So I want to challenge 100 of us to give $1,000 a year. And that's over 10 years, give $1 million to this work of the Children's Defense Fund, and I want to be the first to join in there. Sisters and brothers, I'm here as a pastor to talk about how we work for justice. We who work for justice face rejection. At the DNC this summer, I tried to offer a diagnosis of our nation's spiritual condition, because what we face now goes far deeper than this election and deeper than our disappointment. It goes all the way down to the heart of who we are. If we couldn't see it before, we sure must see it now. America has a heart problem. The reactionary wave that swept across America with the election of Donald Trump is not an anomaly in our history. It is an all too familiar pattern of rejection in the long story of our struggle. Every advance towards a more perfect union has been met with a backlash of rejection. When African Americans became full citizens of the United States during Reconstruction, we witnessed a violent backlash in both the violence of the Klan and the voter suppression of Southern Democrats. When in the second Reconstruction, the Civil Rights Movement achieved real legislative victories, we saw it again. Richard Nixon's Law and Order campaign of 1968, the Southern Strategy, appealed to racial hate and fear without using racial language, at least openly. Coded language, dog whistles is what was used. But it was a rejection of progress all the same. And now, following the election of America's first African-American president, we are experiencing another rejection. Donald Trump entered national politics by waging a crusade against the possibility of Obama's citizenship. Birtherism touched the psychic wound of so many Americans who have not faced our legacy of racism. If there was no Obama, there would have never been a Trump. Let us be clear. Our nation's heart problem is dire. The God of the universe wants to take out our heart of stone in this nation and give us a heart of flesh. But some in our body politics has responded to the idea of such a transplant with clear signs of rejection. But I wanted to say to Secretary Clinton tonight that I need to tell you, Ms. Clinton, and others what the Lord told me last Wednesday morning when I opened up the scriptures for an understanding. He sent me to the book of Samuel, when the prophet Samuel cries out to God in the Old Testament, asking why the people rejected him and elected instead to follow a strong man rather than the Lord of justice. God replied, "It's not you they have rejected, Samuel. They are rejecting me." We who have struggled against injustice in this country must not take the results of this election personally. We cannot afford to blame our neighbors or demonize one another. We are together inheritors of a legacy in this country that has time and time again rejected justice. And whenever human beings reject the God of justice, we are inevitably rejecting sisters and brothers and children who are created in God's image. I know, even in this room, there are some people here who feel rejected in the wake of this election. You feel rejected because of the color of your skin, or where you're from, or who you love, or what faith you believe, or what wealth you don't have. Well, in my faith tradition, there's another saying that comes from the psalmist. It says, "The stones that the builder rejected has become the chief cornerstone." So when I look at this nation's history, I know we have faced rejection before, Sister Edelman, but in the face of rejection, we have pressed on toward a more perfect union. When the stones that have been rejected come together, we can build new foundations of freedom. This, my sisters and brothers, has been the centerpiece of American Reconstruction. Whenever we come together across the lines that are drawn to divide us, something powerful happens. I know the power of coming together. I know it biblically, if I could preach just a second. I know the power of getting together because when Moses and his people and his rod came together, Pharaoh came down and the Red Sea opened up. When David and his slingshot and those stones came together, Goliath came down. When Esther and her uncle Mordecai got together, they were able to stop plots of destruction against the Jewish people. I know what coming together does biblically, but I also know what it has done historically. Truth is, when you hold on to truth, justice has never lost. Now, I didn't say justice hadn't been rejected, and I didn't say it hadn't been beaten up, but justice has never ultimately lost. During slavery, it looked like justice had lost, but when Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Quakers and white evangelicals got together, they formed a fusion movement that brought about abolition. Women didn't have the right to vote, but when Sojourner Truth and Elizabeth Cady Stanton got together, they won the right to vote. It looked like Jim Crow had beaten down justice and couldn't rise again. But when Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and Bayard Rustin got together with Glenn Smiley and Jonathan Daniels and Viola Lewusa, they tore down Jim Crow. So I know it biblically, when we come together, we win. I know it historically, when we've come together, we press forward. But tonight, listening to these children, I have to say to you as well, I know it personally. Several years ago, some said I would never walk again. That's why I limp when I come on stage. I was 30 years old, and I had always depended on my legs. But I woke up one morning, and I couldn't move. I spent 3 months in a bed at UNC Hospital, not knowing if I would ever get up again. For 12 years, I was in a wheelchair on a walker, but over those 12 years, somehow my mind got together. And then my doctors got together, and my nurses got together, and my swim coach got together, and my therapist got together, and my faith got together, and the prayer warriors got together. And when they all got together, God help me, I started walking again. I started marching again, and I haven't stopped fighting since. Whenever we are rejected, it is tempting to retreat into ourselves, into our camps, where we feel safe. But I stopped by to say it's time to come together. So let us come together for the children. Let us come together for this democracy. Let us come together for justice. Let us, if it's necessary, to finish the Poor People's March and come together to save the heart of this democracy. It's time to come together. It's time to organize together. It's time to pray together. It's time to march together. I'm a witness when we all get together. What a day of justice it will be. Let us all come together and save the soul and the heart of this democracy.
My friends, please be in a posture that honors your faith tradition and receive now this benediction. Loving God, thank you for this special evening and all the beautiful young people here and the extraordinary scholars, Janet and Troy, Bethany, Carlos, and Eusabel, who have dared to beat the odds. May their witness and work serve as a reminder that even in the face of tremendous adversity and seemingly unsurmountable hardship, there is a way to overcome. Cover these young people with your mercy. Faithful God, thank you for the life of an extraordinary servant who has championed the well-being of children and women for decades. As we honored her this evening, our hope is that she felt so deeply loved and supported to propel her in continuing this good and courageous work. Cover Hillary with your grace. Inspiring God, we give you thanks for the bold vision of the remarkable founder of this amazing organization and the significant impact on the lives of thousands of children. Cover Marion with your power. Now, Almighty God, as a people acknowledging and respecting a swath of religious and faithful paths, blend us together for the common goal of fighting for and championing the rights of your beloved children. Help us to know if we trifle our time, we fail our children. If we don't act, we fail our children. If we don't lead, we fail our children. Agitate us to leave no child behind. Cover all children with your protection. Now send us forth knowing that in this time of uncertainty, no election, no political ideology, no form of government is higher than you. We are strengthened and encouraged that your arc always bends towards justice. The clarion call is before us, and in that spirit, let us go being covered by your amazing grace.